Hello everybody, welcome back to Frank Repair Bench. This time we have a Commodore PET model 3032 that a friend sent to be repaired. And let's first look at what the problem with this one is. Okay, it looks like a garbage screen, but you see some moving pattern on the characters, and when pressing some keys there is some difference in the moving patterns. I've just checked the general status of the main board. It's quite good, just a little bit dirty. So let's start investigating about this fault. Here is the internal part of this PET. We noticed that the original ROMs have been replaced by some EEPROMs, all but the character generation. And this is just checked that this ROM set is the basic 4. So this PET is actually a 4032, and I've checked reset signal, clock signal, IRQ, NMI, and all looks good on the CPU. And I've checked the voltages on the dynamic ramps, and the voltage is correct. And finally, this is a vintage from 1980 board, looking at some date codes on the chips. I've just substituted the kernel ROM with the pettester bin image, but it doesn't look any better for now, so I think I'll start checking the video generation circuit. Here is some interesting part of the video circuitry. We have a RAM read-write signal, which is a write signal actually, and it comes from this multiplexer on pin 7, and pin 7 can toggle between the high pull up on pin 5 and 6, which is the actual write signal, and on pin 6. And what I see is this signal never goes down, so if it doesn't go low, it cannot write to the video RAM. So we need to understand why this signal never goes on the low state. This is the signal on pin 6, so you can see a low transition, which is the write signal. So the input of the multiplexer looks fine. This instead is the pin 7, which is the output, and it never goes down. So either this chip is not functioning correctly, or some of the outputs that the inputs, sorry, that is driving are stuck high. This is the input, and you see the light flash when the input toggles. But if we probe on the output, we see no current at all, no current spike, nothing, which means probably the chip itself is bad. It's not driving the line anymore. So my next action would be to replace this chip. Okay, I did replace the 74157, and the situation is much better. This is running with the memory test. There are some problems on characters, well, flickering, moving shape of some characters. it seems at regular intervals. And this test also shows errors in the RAM. Yeah, there are more problems on this PET, so we'll see what I find. I have observed the characters changing. You see the E becomes an M. So that means if you look at the ASCII code, it means the changing bit is number 3, starting from 0. And it should be on UF8. Now the problem could be this RAM. I'm not sure, but I cannot think about any good method to understand if it's really the RAM failing on bit 3 when addresses are the lowest 3 addresses are all 0. That's what the position is on this column. So I will try to replace UF8 and see if something changes. Some progress and a new fault. That's the problem with this old hardware. Changing the video RAM solved the flickering problem of some columns. So there is a new 2114 in place of the old one, which was a MOS technology equivalent. So another fault for MOS technology chips. Now we have another problem. I believe is still on the video RAM, and you see the W, and this sequence is also wrong. And between the G and the W there is one bit of difference, and this bit is on the other 2114. So I believe this one, another MOS technology RAM, has to go away. And indeed now looks good. So both of the 2114, the original ones, were somewhat broken, and they were both MOS technology equivalent products, so not reliable at all. Okay, let's recap where we are. And I was able to make the pettester work in this position, but with the original kernel ROM there was still the garbage screen. Then I noticed that this one had a problematic socket. By touching, removing and inserting again this ROM, the PET was able to boot. So I did change the socket. I did put the resistors back where they belong, because the PET was booting with the correct amount of memory. And I hooked all up again, and we have a completely black screen. That means no video signal or not working monitor. Then I swapped this port with mine, and there is the correct video signal. Everything is fine. So the problem is on the video generation board, video generation circuit, I mean. So let's try to debug the video circuit now. Basically, what we look for are 3 signals: the vertical synchronism, vertical drive, horizontal drive, which is another synchronism for the monitor, and the video signal itself, which is in another schematic. So let's try first to see if vertical drive is on pin 11 of UG10 and horizontal drive is on pin 2 of UH7. This is the vertical signal, and well, it's okay. And this is the horizontal signal synchronism on UH7, and this one looks okay too. Video signal should appear on pin 6 of UG11, so let's check that. Here we are on pin 6 of UG11. There is absolutely nothing, so we should get back on the signal chain and see what's wrong. So the situation is we have no signal or way high on this pin 6, and I've checked all these signals and they looks right, there's something. So the first thing to do is try to change this UG11. Unfortunately it was not UG11. It makes no difference when with a new chip. So the signal were present, but they obviously are not what they are supposed to be. So the phase relationship gives always a high signal, and when everything else fails, just remember to touch the various integrated circuits to see if something is getting really hot. And indeed UG3, this one, is getting really hot very quickly after power on, and this is part of the display circuit too, so I'll try to change this one now. Okay, it turns out it was not even this one. This is getting hot, probably because it's driving some bad chip. This one is also quite warmer than the other, so this is UF4, and it's connected to this one. And on pin 9, which is an output of UF4, we have a bad logic level. This is 2 volts, which is not low and it is not high, and these 2 volts are present even if I remove the UG3. So UF4 I think is bad, so it should be the right one this time. Okay, turns out it was not even or not only UF4, because with the new UF4 on pin 9 there is some quite low signal. Should be enough, barely enough, like a high level, but it doesn't look quite good. And this signal goes to UF5 and UG3 that we already substituted. So removing UG3 does not improve the signal, and so it should be UF5. Let's see. Still no luck. It seems that this one was indeed bad, but it did not solve the problem. We have still a completely black screen. And now I'm looking at UF2, which has an input clock on pin 8, As you can see, there is a clock signal, but it should toggle the pin 5 with this half the rate of that clock, and on pin 5 there is nothing. So let's change also UF2 and see what happens. Okay, looks like those two counters are probably good. The output disappears here when there is this chip inserted. Also the original one, the one which was very hot, looks like is bad. But when I remove this one, these two counters start to have correct outputs. But I've tried several 373 here as replacement, and so this is not this one. Probably I've checked these little gates here, and this one 4, 5 and 6 of UH5 have 0, 0 and 0, which is not correct for this kind of gate. This is an AND gate, so 0, 0, there should be 1. So let's see what it drives, and well, this one should be the next one to change. Well, let's see what is drive and if there is high current. And finally, that was it, that little gate. The garbage screen, that's why, because I removed the kernel ROM exactly to have a garbage screen which is makes more signals around, because when there is the kernel ROM there is only the basic prompt on the screen, so not much signals. So this was really a problem, and it took also this one, the original one was bad. Now I'll check the others, the original ones, to see if something could be saved. Okay, finally we are in business, back in business with this one. Looks like I was almost always right. This one was bad indeed. Substituting the original one gives a garbage screen. This one was bad also. Substituting the original one gives a black screen. This one was indeed good. And the problem was this one that was pulling its input low, so this one didn't work when this chip was the original one. And this one was bad too. Substituting the original one gives a black screen again. So this one should have been removed, but it was really kind of tricky to understand. It was not bad. And this one wasn't needed also to be replaced. That was the first attempt. But also this one wasn't really very easy to understand. It was good without logic analyzer or something like that. So all in all, that was a good troubleshooting. Just two innocent chips have been replaced, well, socketed actually. They are the original one. Not bad. And 1, 2, and 3 and 4 were bad. Okay, let's make some tests. I just took at the tape, loaded the IEEE 488 test, and unfortunately it gives a signal bad. The signal and the IC is driven by the 6522, and I replaced the socket just in case it was bad. Actually, it's always bad, so I guess the 6522 is has a problem on a port, so I will try to substitute and see what happens. Now there is a new 6522, and the test shows no errors. Actually, before trying to substitute the 6522, I've swapped the two 6520 because NDSC signal goes to one of the 6520s for the output, and the input side is on the 6522. But swapping the two 6520 showed no differences, so the problem was either on the 6522 or in one of the IEEE 488 bus transceivers, but the easy test was to swap the 6522 first, and indeed the original one was bad. Now what remains to test is the parallel port, trying to load some programs from the PC and see if it works correctly. So I'm trying to send the embedders program game to the PET using CBM link via the user port on the PET to test also the user port, and it's sent correctly. And let's try to run here. Yeah, seems to work. It started. Yes. So I guess this PET is working fine by now, and this is the end of this repair. Thank you for watching.